Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, so today, hi, hi. Why are we like this? Today, I'm gonna be, I wanna be doing my makeup. And while I do my makeup, I'm gonna be shit-talking people that I used to know. Because I don't have a life, I don't ever do anything, and I thought, hey, why not? This is gonna be a fun video, you know? I'm not gonna name any names. I'm gonna redact everyone in the video. But if you're the person who I'm talking about and you watch this video and you think, hey, this might be about me, reflect on your actions a bit, maybe. I might be looking down a bit because I wrote some points down so I could remember, but even with these points, I'm not sure if I'm gonna make any sense. So if I don't make any sense, I do apologize. Okay, first off, we're gonna start off with, okay, so I met through X, the everything app. But, well, I didn't really meet. We just became mutuals first. We were mutuals for a bit, but we never really spoke. We never really interacted. During the duration of us being mutuals, there was a point, there was a time when, at one point, tweeted about their friend Charlie. It's telling people, well, would often tweet about Charlie, and I didn't really think much of it. But then one day, it was like, hey guys, you should follow Charlie. And so I did, because I was like, Charlie seems cool. And Charlie followed me back, and we became mutuals, and that was the start of a beautiful, blossoming bosom friendship. Okay, yeah, that was the start of a beautiful friendship between Charlie and I, but that's not the point. This video is about the people that I no longer associate with, and I very much associate with Charlie. Because of the fact that Charlie and I became mutuals. We interacted for a bit. We interacted for a while. And I was just thinking, wow, this girl, she's so lovely and she's so nice and she interacts with me. I love that. Because a lot of the people on Twitter, they rarely interact with you. I've noticed, well, it's not that I try to post a lot and I don't really care about interactions, but I do notice that a lot of my mutuals on Twitter on my main account, they don't really interact with me. They don't like my posts. They don't, reply or anything, which is fine, but like, guys, where are you? Anyway, sometime in July of 2025, I DM'd Charlie. I was like, hey, do you want to be mutuals on Instagram? And she said yes! She said yes. So we became mutuals on Instagram. And we started sending each other voice messages and we just became close really quick. And sometime during, July, we went on a call with each other. We were just calling each other. And I don't know. During that call, I DM'd, because and Charlie are pretty close. Were pretty close. They were pretty close. They're no longer close. And so I was like, let me, because I have someone there to protect me during the call. So I DM'd and I was like, yo, I don't know what I said actually, but I'm gonna pop up the DMs right here. Anyway, because of that, I became mutuals with on Instagram as well. And through becoming mutuals with on Instagram, we became a part of a trio group chat on Instagram called the Finger Fam. And it was a beautiful group chat. for a bit. But along the way, I've started noticing some things. I did. I started noticing some things. How often would be absent from the group chat, which, honestly, nothing entirely wrong with that, you know? Someone not messaging me, I don't really take it personally. That just, to me, it just means, you know, you're not really my friend. You're just an acquaintance. Because if we're gonna be close friends, I expect you to message me semi-regularly. Obviously not every day. You know, people have lives. I don't expect you to continuously be there, but I do expect you to be there. The thing about and Charlie though, they were they were in a they were kind of romantic with each other. They weren't dating, but they did like each other. Well, at least Charlie did like. Not sure about. I do think he did like Charlie, but just had a weird way of showing it. Anyway, and I spoke to Charlie about about this video, and she did give me permission to, you know, speak about the things that he has done to her. So if anyone's afraid that I'm exposing more than I should, worry not, because Charlie, she gave me permission to tell her story to you guys. Anyway, close your eyes. Open your eyes. Okay. Charlie and what they had, it wasn't platonic. Let's just say that. It was not platonic. And I noticed it even before we all started speaking to each other, because the way I would tweet about Charlie sometimes, I thought, you know, hey, they're together, that's so sweet. But then I started talking to them, and you know, apparently they're just friends, and I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Where am I going with this? One day during a call, Charlie, she told me that she had feelings for you. We talked about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that. Because the way you guys acted with each other. But she also told me other things about you. She said how, you know, she spoke to you before, but ghosted her twice before. And they started speaking again the same July that I started speaking to Charlie. And, you know, and, you know, at that point I'm like, oh, okay, that's a bit odd, but just ghosting someone, I don't, you know, like, sure, it sucks, but there's nothing too bad about it, you know? So I was a bit like, oh, that's weird. And Charlie also told me how, like, during their private calls, they would be so lovey-dovey with each other, and I was like, aw, that's so sweet. But I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I love young love. I don't know. But that's just a bit of backstory of Charlie and but I started noticing things. How would often sometimes, right? In the group chat, it would either be only Charlie and speaking, or just me and speaking, right? Like, the other person, either Charlie or me, would not be there. But as soon as the other person would join, it would disappear. And to me, it kind of felt as if, it was like, oh, the other person is here now. I can leave this conversation, and the other person can deal with it, right? I don't know if that's how it felt for sure, but that's how it felt like to me, you know? And another thing is that oftentimes well, they never ever said anything about themselves. They were very much like an oyster. They would never open up about their feelings or anything. But the few amount of times, well, at least not to me, and at least not in the group chat, you know? Everything I learned about I've learned through Charlie. Because the thing with I've never really spoken to them one-on-one before. Like, not actually. We've had, like, short conversations privately before, but it would always end shortly. Or, like, sometimes, oh my god, this was something that would do a lot, right? Sometimes I would send, like, a TikTok or a reel on Instagram, would just not reply to it, not even leave a like. But then would send, like, a TikTok after, even though they didn't interact with the one that I sent. And I don't know, to me it just felt like, you know? Like, obviously, interacting with a TikTok, I don't really care if you interact with a TikTok I send, but it would be nice for you to acknowledge something that I sent before you send something of your own. Because to me, it's like, it gets to a point where I'm like, oh, if you don't even care about something that I send, why should I care about something that you sent? You know? Anyway, that's besides the point. Sometimes they would come, the few amount of times, they would come and join the group chat would be to complain about something in their lives. And this would be the rare occasion that we would get something out of them. We would get them low-key opening up. They would just not open up. And which is like, obviously, you don't need to open up about everything, but I feel like in a close friendship, you should at least open up about some things. But the only time you would ever open up about anything would just be to complain about their other friends or something in their life. And friendships, I'm here to listen to you complain. If you're my friend, I will listen to you complain about anything. But if it's only ever you complaining, and then when I start to say something, you just kind of disappear in the middle of the conversation, that's kind of shitty, is it not? It's kind of shitty. I don't know. Okay, close your eyes. And also, I don't know, a lot of the time people would be like, oh, I miss you guys. But it's like, Charlie and I were literally always speaking in the group chat. If you missed us, just come in and speak to us. Hello. All of this ghosting, not being there, I could push aside. But the thing that made me not want to be friends with you anymore is the things that Charlie has told me that he has done, which was low-key shitty. Because, again, Charlie and very much not platonic. They had their moment. They were quite fond of each other. They were at least Charlie was quite fond of him. But oh my gosh! Another thing about they're very insecure. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being insecure. No. I feel like everyone has their own insecurities. It's human to have insecurities. But when it gets to the point where you become an insecure person, you need to work on yourself. You do. Because it starts becoming a problem. I don't know. People would often, say stuff like, oh my god, guys, I'm so ugly, I'm so pathetic, and I'm such a loser. And obviously if you're my friend, I'm gonna, be like, hey, no you're not. Don't say that. If you continuously say that in front of me, it just gets to a point where I stop entertaining it and I no longer say anything. I just let you say what has been said and I won't, try to soothe you. because there is a time and place. If you're talking to me about your insecurities and we're like having a conversation where we're being vulnerable with each other, I'm gonna, soothe you and I'm gonna be vulnerable back. But if you're just bringing it up for the sake of bringing it up, it gets to a point. It does. I'm sorry. At that point, invest in a journal. But it kind of got to a point where it started being very, I don't know, like people would repost stuff on their TikTok while we were still friends, being like, oh my god, nobody cares about me. And I just feel like that's insulting, to say stuff like that, because you're basically insinuating that your friends are two-faced, evil people who don't care about you, which is just not true. At that point, I did care about you. Now I don't, but I did back then. So for, to like repost stuff being like, oh my god, nobody cares about me. And I did say this to Jay. I responded to one of their reposts. I was like, that's mean. And they're like, oh, you're right. But they didn't do anything to change it. One thing I've come to found during the one thing I found during that friendship, it wasn't really a friendship. He was not really there. I don't even know Jay, actually. He's avoidant. Very avoidant. And it really shocked me because I thought I was avoidant. But that's besides the point. Very much avoidant. And I don't know, I came to figure it out a bit because they would never open up about their feelings, and they would not be there a lot of the time, which, fair enough. But I don't know, I started not liking because some of the stuff that Charlie would tell me, right? Like how during their one-on-one calls, it would be very cutesy and romantic, and would, always like insinuate that they liked Charlie back. But then, I don't know, we would have three-way calls, and then I would speak about my own feelings about how I don't want to, date anyone at my point in life currently because of my own reasonings, which you guys don't need to know. I said that, and he agreed with me, and I was a bit confused, and so was Charlie, because from what Charlie told me, they were very, romantical with each other, and it was basically like, oh yeah, I like Charlie back. Not in those words exactly, but basically insinuating it. I would often flirt with Charlie. Charlie would flirt back. It's like I would be stringing along Charlie. And like Charlie did tell me, like, every time he would come back from ghosting her, it was as if, no, it probably is, actually is, it is love bombing. Because it would be very much like, ooh, you may say no, it would very much be, all in, very much, hey, I'm sorry for ghosting you, I was such a dick, and stuff like that, and like treating Charlie better and making all these promises, but then it would start breadcrumbing and then end up ghosting Charlie again, which is like such a shitty thing to do. Hello. It was just very unsure of their feelings, it seemed like. They would, make all these like insinuations that they liked Charlie back, but then their actions would say like otherwise. Like how they would always like flirt with Charlie, but then they would make tweets being like, oh, I don't know if I like anyone right now, stuff like that. And I feel like, I don't know, did I ever mention that I'm wearing contacts right now? They're 14.2 millimeters in diameter. I'll put an audio. You don't need to know how to pronounce that word. Anyway, they would just be stringing Charlie along, giving Charlie hope that they liked her back. But then would be like, oh, I don't like anyone right now, you know, stuff like that. If you're avoidant and you know that you're unsure, well, if you're avoidant and you know that you don't want to be in a relationship, leave other people alone. Is that weird to say? Is that crazy to say? No, it's not crazy to say. Fuck you. If you're avoidant, just leave other people alone. Like, unless you're like genuinely willing to work on it, which was not. They were aware that they were avoidant, but they would never make any moves to try and fix that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I just remembered. Right? Apparently, created themselves and Charlie in The Sims and made each other woohoo. Apparently, allegedly, not sure, Charlie, when she told me this, she wasn't sure if this is true, but could have been with Wicked Whims as well. Now, it's one thing to make someone that you know in The Sims and then make them woohoo with you, but it's another thing to use Wicked Whims. What is going on here? Is like, do you not see anything wrong with your actions here? That's weird. That's weird. That's weird. Hi, this is me editing. I just wanted to add another really crazy story, but apparently there was this one time during one of Charlie and calls where showed Charlie their dildo, but they called it a strap, and they were like grossed out at the fact that Charlie called it a dildo. But it's like, if there's no harness, it's a fucking dildo, bro. Be realistic. Little things like this that Charlie told me, it just made me think even more, do I wanna keep being friends? And I came to the conclusion, no. Yeah, you know, after we started being a bit absent in the group chat, Charlie and I, we did discuss it, and we started making jokes in the group chat, which we barely ever see, by the way. Charlie and I were sending each other feet pics in the group chat, as we usually do, because it's something that we like to do. We like to send each other pictures of our feet. We just think it's an art form, okay? And no, I don't have a foot fetish. If I had a foot fetish, I would be asking for the foot pics. I wouldn't be sending them too, okay? Get it straight. Anyway, we were doing what we usually do, and we would send each other, we were just sending each other feet pics in the group chat, and came on, and was like, ew, as they normally do, because would always be like, ew, every time we send each other feet pics, which I think is weird because allegedly he likes armpits. I think feet are better looking than armpits. Anyway, we were sending each other foot pics in the group chat, and then it was like, ew, and then Charlie and I, we were making fun of them because they would never be present in the group chat. And I made a joke. I was like, oh, you only come on here to complain and hate on us because is a hater and they would often hate on us. And then he was like, that's not true. And I was like, yes, it is. When was the last time we had an actual conversation? Checkmate. And then said something like, oh, is this like an actual conversation that's like, is this like a serious conversation that needs to be had? And I was like, I don't know, is it? Because if it was like a serious conversation that needs to be had, do you think I would be saying checkmate? I don't know. And I wasn't even being like fully serious. Because, I don't know. At that point, I was just like done. And like, I didn't feel the need to like communicate with you. Because when has you ever communicated with me? You know? So I'm like, whatever. But that was the downfall. And apparently, sent Charlie a private message being like, I'm not gonna speak in the group chat for a bit because it, like, it threw me off or whatever. Which is like, okay, I feel like that's like a thing that you should say to both parties, not just one. But I don't know. Me and Charlie, during the ending of this friendship, they had a private conversation, and Charlie was, she was telling them how she felt and how, she felt as if they would never, they would never be there, which they weren't. And another thing is that, Charlie felt as if, and I felt this too, but these are Charlie's words because we only had a conversation with Charlie. And Charlie was like, oh, like, I feel as if we only ever find out things through Twitter. And Charlie was like, that's not true. But it was true. Because they would never ever tell us anything about themselves. And anytime they would ever say anything, it would be on Twitter. And it would just be little crumbs of how they feel. And anytime Charlie and I would bring it up in the group chat, we would be like, guys, can you not bring it up? Can we just keep it on Twitter? You know? Like a major thing that happened was we like started getting a sexuality and gender identity crisis. And we didn't find out until said so on Twitter. Which I don't know. Like if you're saying that you think of us as like close friends and you miss us, but you don't give us anything, I don't think you're a close friend then. Yeah. And thing is, during Charlie and Jane's conversation, I did tell Charlie. They were like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna speak to Kat about this privately." Did I ever get a message? No. I'm still waiting on it. I'm still waiting for it. But that's, I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. Because shortly after, he removed me from everything. And Joey also removed Charlie's friends from their Instagram. I also want to add that apparently Charlie's friends did not like either because of the fact that ghosted Charlie like twice. But they kept Charlie on their Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, I think. Might be Discord as well. I don't know, which I found weird because it's like you're removing everyone but Charlie. Like you're removing Charlie on everything but the main platforms that you use. It makes me think that you're doing this so you could still have a hand on Charlie. So you still have, a way of getting to Charlie still. I forgot to mention, but oftentimes when they would not respond to our messages in the group chat, they would post on their story gameplay of them with other friends. They would also repost stuff that's like, oh, when like me messaging this one friend to go on Fortnite or Roblox or whatever. And I understand that there are varying degrees of social battery when it comes to different people. I get that too. Like speaking to anyone that isn't Charlie, it gets me so exhausted. But I feel like, I would often say, "Hey, I miss you guys." But like you're not putting in the effort to speak to us, so it just makes me think you don't miss us. The fuck? Anyway, another thing that would happen is that sometimes when Charlie or I would send photos in the group chat, it would have clicked on the photos and Instagram would say seen by 2 people, right? But then they would go on to the group chat like hours later being like, "Oh, I didn't, I wasn't on." Like I just saw these messages. It's like clearly you saw them before. Like if you're gonna pretend that you're not reading the messages, maybe don't click on the photos, dumbass. Yeah, just kept Charlie, which I found weird. I found very weird. I did convince Charlie to remove, potentially block on the same, platforms that he kept her on. Which, I mean, Charlie was gonna do regardless, but I convinced her to do it earlier because Charlie was being nice about it, and I was like, bro, he wasn't nice about this. Why are you like trying to be nice about it? You know, by like waiting a bit longer to remove them. So Charlie did remove them, and it's beautiful. We're not friends with anymore. But it does piss me off because, you know, afterwards, Charlie and I were both nosy creatures. So we would look at these reposts on TikTok, and we would see that would often repost stuff like, oh, you know, like I wish someone cared about me. Or, like I wish I had friends who like cared about me deeply. Stuff like that. Which I think it's such bullshit. Cause how do you expect people to care about you if you don't put in the effort to care about others? Like you can't expect a close friendship with another person where you both deeply care about each other if you don't even make the effort to be vulnerable, if you don't even make the effort to have those moments where you open up to other people, if you don't even make the effort to actually have a conversation with people. From my perspective, it seems like very much doesn't know themselves. When he was friends with Charlie and I, identified as a butch, but then they had a sexuality crisis, so they were no longer a butch, no longer a lesbian, no longer a butch. Um, started using started testing out he/him pronouns, right? Which is all fine and dandy, but you know, would sometimes like have these crisis would often have a crisis about whether they were, you know, butch enough or like masculine enough, right? So tell me why, after Charlie and I stopped being friends with, to both of our shock, suddenly it's like a femme pink princess. It makes no sense. Genuinely, it makes no sense. I'm sorry. Okay, this is me in the future. Wait, I just saw realness. No, Charlie just sent me a screenshot of his Discord. Tell me why. They changed their profile picture to Aya from the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. What do you mean? What do you mean? Why are you suddenly trying to be a pink princess femme? You're not. Cause we stopped being friends, suddenly started using she her pronouns, started liking pink, started to present themselves more femininely. And obviously, I'm not a person who gets, you know, I don't give a gaff if you decide to change up the way you present yourself. But I do find it suspicious because Charlie very much pink princess. Charlie was always the pink princess of the trio. And, you know, I can't help but wonder if he's trying to steal Charlie's skin. Another thing that they would do is that they would often compare themselves to like characters that Charlie had a crush on. Or if Charlie was playing a game and she saw herself as a character, would be like, oh, this love interest of that character is so me. I'm gonna add on to this to say, right? Charlie, the last two times ghosted her. She, you know, let back into her life. And so my hypothesis, right, is that since now Charlie has proven that she's not gonna like let in again, it's like, oh gosh, if I can't have her, I'm gonna become her. Which is so scary. Charlie, stay safe out there. I don't know, but I just can't help but like wonder if this sudden like presentation of being feminine and changing their profile pictures to have a character that's very pinky, changing their profile picture to poses where they're like they're femming it up. I can't help but wonder if it's because they're trying to steal Charlie's identity. They're doing identity theft right in front of our eyes, and there's nothing we could do about it. I don't know. I don't know. This could have been avoided if it was just open about their feelings and they're like, hey, you know, Charlie, I do like you, but I just don't see myself dating anyone. Saying something like that, you know, instead of just stringing Charlie along, being like, oh, I like you. Well, they never said that, but they insinuated it. And the way that Charlie finds out that he doesn't like her is through Twitter. Why are you a pink princess all of a sudden? It makes no sense. You were having an identity crisis, you know, and you were like basically crying about not being butch enough and like being insecure about their height. Oh my gosh, there was this one, you know, we were talking about our heights, and like 5'3", and they were like very insecure about it, which is like at that point, you know, well at that point while they were insecure, they identified as lesbian. Come on, women tend to be, a lot of women are on the shorter side. So if you're worried about finding someone who's like shorter than you, that's probably not gonna be hard. Plus, like a lot of like women, they don't really care. They don't really care about height. That's besides the point. That's besides the point. They're like insecure. They're like, oh, I don't know. It like started becoming a thing where it's like, oh, they were like starting to worry whether they're butch enough or not. It's like, bro, being short doesn't make you any less butch. Like, side note, we've come to realize that it does a lot of things that it's very, you know, that like very performatively. It seems very performative. Cause in my head I'm like how you present as a butch doesn't matter as much as mindset. And I'm not saying if you're a butch and you're insecure about your height, you shouldn't be. Wait. No, you shouldn't be insecure about your height. Don't be, hey, shh, listen to me. Listen to me. It's okay. It's okay. You are butch enough. You are butch enough. To me, it just felt like I was more worried about like how they looked as opposed to being butch as an actual identity and gender and mindset and all that. I just find it weird how someone could, I don't know. I just find it boggling how someone could do like
180
overnight. I don't know. They can present however they want. I don't care. But I do find it weird how suddenly they're like presenting themselves how Charlie presents herself. Have I said all that's needed to be said? I don't know. I don't know. If there's anything missing, I'll just put it in voiceover. I'll put it in the voiceover if I missed something. I'm sorry. I don't have a script for this. Every time I try to sit down and write a script, I couldn't do it. I think that might be it for I don't remember. I don't think of anymore, so I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I found Pinterest too. They have like hair ideas, and suddenly they want like pink streaks in their hair. When I was friends with their like favorite color was like a navy blue, and they would like repost posts that are like, oh, my color is navy blue. But then, you know, we stop being friends, suddenly it's pink. Make it make sense. Suddenly they want pink streaks in their hair, and Charlie recently dyed her hair pink. Now you want pink in your hair too? I'm a bit confused here. I am. In my head, I'm thinking either like you only identified as butch and like had that, you know, identity crisis because it's you see someone on the internet do it and you do it too. Or you're now repressing who you actually are. Either way, both very bad. Be who you are. If you're watching this, get off the internet. I'm so serious. Get off the internet and like figure out who you are. Because from my point of view, I don't know. I don't think you know who you are. And it seems like you're just copying the people around you and you're copying people on the internet. And you don't have a sense of identity. And I think you should probably get off the internet and put the time into, I don't know, getting a hobby. Figure yourself out. Cause it's sad. It's really sad. Oh, I think that might be it for in this section of the video. I think it needs more blush. This next person that I'm moving on to, I haven't been friends with for years! 2 years, I think. I met through a mutual friend named. I one day messaged because I was bored. And I was like, hey, you want to hang out? And he was like, yeah, can I bring a friend? And I was like, of course. And that friend was. And so June of 2023, I hung out with and it was a chill hangout, nothing really special, but you know, afterwards I didn't hang out with anyone for months because that's the type of person I am. I get very exhausted hanging out with people that I don't really know. So I need to like not leave the house for a couple months. That's exactly what I did. And by December of 2023 was in, and so I texted, I was like, hey, you want to hang out? And she was like, sure. And we hung out. In hindsight, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't the only time we hung out. It started becoming a regular occurrence. From January of 2024 up to March, I think it was, we hung out pretty regularly, right? And also introduced me to some of their friends. And I don't know, it became like a small group of us. Well, at least that was the main friend group for me. Because like a lot of the hangouts, they would have other people, but the main people that I hung out with was right? And I don't know, they were just, you know, the people that I spoke to, and so those were the people who I considered friends. The rest of them were just acquaintances. I didn't know them. But yeah, we hung out. And nothing too bad really happened in the friendship. But I would often find myself getting like really irritable, and I just had, I don't know, like a lot of the stuff that did would just kind of annoy me, which, you know, not their fault, not really. That's my own personal issue. But I just couldn't shake off the feeling that like something was off. I don't know. Something was off. Should I do my eyeliner? Comment down below if you think I should do my eyeliner. I will see it. I can't tell if that's even or not, but that's not my problem anyway. Just something about would throw me off, you know? Something about would just irritate me. At that point in life, I was like, hey, that doesn't say anything about it just says something about me, and that I'm an irritable person, right? So I didn't think much of it, and I didn't do anything. But one fateful day, I was kind of questioning whether I wanted to be friends with this group of people. Not because they did anything particularly bad, but I was just like, is it, you know, really worth it if I constantly get, you know, irritated by this one specific person? And also, February 2024, I find out apparently, who by the way at this point was 20, right, made out with a 16-17-year-old while drunk, and use this excuse, you know, that they were drunk. But when I told Charlie about this, she was like, "You still know what you're doing when you're drunk. You just care less." I wouldn't know. I've never been drunk, but that's weird, is it not? It's weird because you're a 20-year-old and you're making out with a minor. Yeah, I kind of that's like sticked in the back of my head, but I was like, they were drunk, right? But yeah, fast forward March 2024, I kind of, was questioning whether I wanted to be friends with these people. More specifically, but if I stopped being friends with, I don't think I could have been friends with anyone with the rest of the group. So, I was like, but like the friendship, it did end March 2024. Didn't end on good terms. I ghosted them. I disappeared from a hangout and didn't contact them. Well, we had a last contact, but it was not good because well, what happened was, I didn't speak to them after a hangout, and they were worried. Obviously, I'm not gonna, obviously they would be worried, but I just told them not to worry. And like during this like message, they were having their own little hangout, which was like, okay. One of the people who was like part of their like friend group, her name's I didn't really know, but I didn't really like her because she would say slurs, and she's like not even part of those minorities. But like blocked me, and I was like, oh, weird. But they were with, so I left every group chat because I saw them hanging out with, and they were like, oh, are you okay? It's like, obviously not, but like I told them not to worry. Just like keep hanging out with your friends. And I don't know, it kind of like ended into an argument, but I got left on red, so I was like, okay, that's fine. And we stopped talking, and then slowly I like removed them from my like socials and stuff. Anyway, we stopped being friends March 2024. And friendship ended, not too much occurred during that. So it was just like, wasn't too worried about it. But like I found out some things apparently through their side of the story, because I have a friend, right, who also knows some of the people who was part of the friend group, because some of the people who was part of the friend group, they like went to my school. Well, they went to the school that I went to before I dropped out. And she spoke to like one of the people, his name's, and like apparently, I don't know, they were like calling me biphobic. Which is like, whoa, when was I ever biphobic? I don't give a gaff about bisexual people, I'm sorry. That doesn't make me biphobic though. Listen, be who you are. If you're bisexual, I love that for you. Be who you are. But I really don't care if you're bisexual or not. But I've never been biphobic a day in my life. I used to be bisexual, so I know what that's like. Like hearing I really can't tell if from like their side of the story was having shit memory and like not telling it properly, or if that's genuinely what they believe happened. Because like the things that they said, it's like they twisted a lot of this stuff to make me seem worse. And it's like, that's just not what happened. Like, I know they all suffer from dementia and have severe memory loss, but like, that is not what happened. And that's okay. If you don't remember what happened, it's okay to say that you don't remember what happened, right? Something that would often do when we were friends that would make me feel iffy, it would bother me, is that a lot of the time, I would, like, I'm not shy to say no. I love saying no. I say no very often, right? But sometimes when I said no to, they would be like, are you sure? And I'm sure they said it to, like, seem nice, but it doesn't seem nice to me, because if I say no, why are you saying, are you sure? It just makes it seem like you're trying to coerce me into saying yes, which is weird to me. But it's like, if I don't want to do something, I'm not gonna do it. Fuck you. Apparently, I had good reason to feel iffy about this. Because allegedly sexually assaulted someone. I do very much believe, I do believe this. I do. Because, and I found this out because I recently made a friend, and she used to know as well. And she told me, she knew a whole lot longer than I did. And she, told me some stuff that did, and I couldn't help but think, wow, I really have good intuition. I do. And apparently, wasn't the first 16-year-old that made out with at 20. Apparently, made out with another 16-year-old at 20, which is like, why are you making out with 16-year-olds while you're drunk? That's so weird. I don't know. I find it weird too, because after we stop being friends, right? I'm a nosy person. Sometimes I look at these people's account to, see what they're doing. And after I, stop being friends with them, I look at their account and they made a post with who at the time was also 16 and was 20. Should we be concerned by the amount of 16-year-olds that is hanging out with? Anyway, like I see that made a post with, right? They were like doing the like silly little like poses. This is an example, right? Those poses. And then posted it and then captioned it Russian blowout dolls, right? And then in the comments, I think it was commented something, right? And then like made a comment being like, "Oh, our sex appeal was like too great or something." I don't remember the comment, but why are you talking about a 16-year-old sex appeal when you're 20? That's weird. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's probably, I guess I wouldn't be too concerned about that if, you know, you're making out with 16-year-olds. I guess you wouldn't be too concerned about talking about a 16-year-old sex appeal. Sexually assaulted someone, which is very serious. And like, what is wrong with you? Not only that, but like the person that sexually assaulted, right? Like paid for the ticket for them to go to another country and stayed with that person, and apparently like stole money from that person's mom, which is like, how are you gonna go to another country which was paid for by this friend of yours, and then you stay with them and you steal their mother's money? Like, do you not have any decency? Where are your manners? Like, what is wrong with you, genuinely? It's crazy to me, because apparently they're still friends with minors to this day. Save those minors. Genuinely, I don't understand. I never understood. I don't understand. I couldn't understand. I think this section is gonna be shorter than because it was more recent. And I hope the people who they're friends with save themselves, because they have a lot of friends. Apparently identifies as lesbian now, which I just find funny. Because, like, they accuse me of being
biphobic.
and according to the reason that I don't like is because they were bisexual. It's like, I really don't give a shit if you're bisexual. You're a weirdo who makes out with minors. I'm putting on eyelashes now. But yeah, I just find it funny how they identify as a lesbian. I don't think they actually are. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna tell someone how they can identify. But like when I was friends with they would often like talk about wanting to like fuck men and stuff.
They were actively telling me, "Oh, I think I'm a lesbian," while also talking about wanting to fuck men.
Which is like, I'm sorry. There's a difference between struggling with comp het and genuinely wanting to fuck men.
I just also want to say a story where there was this one time during February of 2024, I was with and this male friend, and we went to his house and we had like a little fun little trio sleepover. Um, and at one point, asked the male, they were like, "Oh, would you ever like fuck a lesbian. And thank God the male was like, then that wouldn't make them a lesbian. But it was so weird for to have asked that. Should I have been worried for my safety? In hindsight, should I have been worried? But that was weird, wasn't it? Because why are you asking a male if they would have sex with a lesbian? That's weird. Ah! Ah!
It's okay to be bi with a woman preference, guys. It's okay. It's okay to be bi. It's okay to be a bisexual person. I don't know, I don't believe it. Because I've seen their reposts, and then, like, they reposted something like, oh, when I say that I'm a lesbian, never do I mean 5 seconds of summer. Which, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too strict, but I feel like if you have, like, even one man that you're not a lesbian, you know? I don't know. Call me crazy. I don't know. I don't know, bro. I don't remember. There's not much going on in my mind. I'm just focusing on my makeup. It's stuck to my fingers. Hold on. I hate eyelashes. They never stick. Bro. It's stuck. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Oh, never mind. You know what? From this point on in the video, we're gonna be talking about my makeup. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's makeup tutorial, I'm gonna be teaching you. Oh, how'd that happen then? Okay, a bit of glue, which I once sniffed this. Link in the description for my glue sniffing ASMR. It's really good. You should watch it. Lashes are the bane of my existence. I don't like putting on false lashes because my fingers are shaking all the time. I'm gonna be right back. Okay, this is as good as it's gonna get when it comes to the eyelashes. Is this too pink? Okay, that's it for the lip. Now we move on to the final touch, which is a highlighter for me. I like doing highlighter last. This might be it for the makeup. I think I'm done. Oh, hold on. Back up. Okay. I think I'm done with the makeup. And I think I'm also done with the story time. I don't think I have anything else to say. If I do, you'll find out post editing. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Please.